Welcome, everyone. We are so excited. Yes, we see lots of familiar names. We are so excited that you decided to spend a short time with us this Thursday morning. Um, we were saying it feels like Friday, but we're excited to have you here to learn more about AI. I show 1201, so we'll get started. Start with introductions. My name is Tama Aber, and I'm the Educational Technology Trainer at DSI Clear. And in addition to planning and facilitating workshops like this one with my wonderful team, I also facilitate the Claw Institute, which is built around the collaborative learning active workspaces around campus. So that is who I am, and I'm going to toss it to my awesome team, my awesome co-presenter there, Allison.
Hi, I'm Allison Boyer. I am the Senior Faculty Development Specialist here in the Faculty Development Unit with DSI and C. And I do all kinds of things, but one of my primary roles in the unit is I lead the GATE Institute about generative AI in teaching. So I'm really excited for you all to be here with us today.
All right, and this is a workshop for AI for beginners. And we are excited. We're just going to talk about practical tools and insights for you, and hopefully get you to walk away with some wonderful ideas. So, all right, let's see. We'll go to the next slide. Our workshop goals for today. Hopefully at the end of our hour together, we'll help you identify options for using generative AI for educational content creation. And that does include efficiency, creativity, and then of course enhancing student learning, which is something that we all are excited about learning more about. So before we jump in and get started with lots of great information, we have a poll that we would love for you to answer for us. And it is the question, what type of content or materials do you spend the most time creating for your teaching? And of course, we did take grading and feedback out of the equation, but you can see we've got options here, and you can mark as many as you want. In-class activities, do you spend the most time creating quiz or exam questions, assignments, discussion questions, what else is there? Let's see. Slides for your presentation, your lectures, lesson plans, images, graphics, finding examples, maybe even like case study examples, or creating rubrics.
Samantha, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, so I have not actually taught yet. So is this something that I should be answering? I feel like what do I spend the most time on in my ed, like while I'm doing my schoolwork kind of a thing? Is that okay?
Yeah, or imagine what you think might be the most time consuming for you
Okay.
when you're teaching.
Great.
Yeah.
It's a great question.
Still waiting on a few more responses. Emma, just tell me when you're ready for me to end the poll.
Okay. We are getting some good participation. Wonderful. Great answers here. Okay. Countdown. Submit your last few answers. 3, 2, 1. Okay. So we'll end the poll. And let's take a look at our results. Let's see here. Slides. Okay. So is that the highest percent? 51%?
Pretty even distribution amongst a lot of them, though.
It really
Activities,
is.
questions, assignments, rubrics. I hear that.
All the above.
Yes, all of the
We should have
above.
a
That's why
separate
you
poll.
got
How
to
many
pick more
people?
than one. That's why you got to pick more than one.
That's exactly right. Exactly. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing that information with us. And we'll go to our next slide because you have come to the perfect workshop because we are going to hopefully help you streamline some of your the activities that you're producing and streamline some of your work and efforts by enhancing your teaching with AI. We hope that you walk away with some really good ideas to make better use of your time. So we're going to go to our next slide, and we first wanted to talk about ways to use AI. Some of you maybe have thought of these different ways to use AI to help you out to enhance your teaching, but hopefully maybe there's some new ideas here that you can take away. So we're going to start first with learning materials. AI, and when I talk about generative AI, there's lots of different platforms. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. So just kind of in general, generative AI can help you with lesson plan outlets. Or outlines, excuse me. It can help you create put in your learning objective, help you create a plan to effectively execute that learning objective. Real world examples. As far as practical applications, case studies, and that's another one on there in scenarios. You are the expert of your subject, but sometimes it helps to have a brainstorming partner to help you with real world examples and scenarios. Discussion questions, especially if you're wanting to hit the Bloom's taxonomy and get different levels of questions, and especially those that are really applying to critical thinking. AI can help you create some of the questions, practice problems, as well as reflective prompts. So those are some ideas with using AI for creating learning materials. You can also use generative AI to help you create assessment tools. Sometimes we just get stumped, or we catch ourselves using the same exact assessment. So creating a successful assessment tool is essential for measuring the student progress and understanding. And by incorporating these tools, we can create a comprehensive assessment strategy that not only supports the student learning, but it provides valuable feedback for you and how your students are doing. So AI can help you with that. And the next one, multimedia content. There are lots of different AI platforms out there that can help you with this topic. Again, a lot of you mentioned slides. It is very time consuming as far as the layout of your slides, the ideas, and making sure all the content is in a logical flow. Diagrams, videos, animation, anything that really is going to bring your slideshow, your PowerPoint to life and make it more engaging for your students. And then of course music, you know that we're a fan of music because we started our workshop there with music, and then audio content as well as the visual. So, and this is what I was talking about. Lots and lots of platforms out there. There are platforms that will help you create music. There are platforms out there that will help you with videos. There are ones that will create images for you. We're going to get to explore one of those today. There's also AI that has been built into a lot of the engaging platforms for students like Wayground, and that was formerly quizzes, just like Kahoot, if you're familiar with that. And there's tutoring AI websites. So there are many, many, many out there. Some of these you may recognize, some of them may be brand new to you. But remember at the bottom, a really important message I want to make sure and get across is that be careful that what information you are plugging into these platforms. There can be significant risk. You definitely do not want to share personal, FERPA protected information, copyrighted information. You just always want to verify that the platform complies with the data protection laws and regulations. So to help you in that area, There we go. We are going to focus in on these two platforms today. And why is because UNT has a license with Microsoft, and Copilot is their AI platform. It's one that the faculty development team is very fond of. We all lean towards that as we're doing our work. As well as the Adobe Firefly. It just adds, with UNT having a license with these companies, you log in with your UNT credentials. It just adds that extra layer of protection when you're creating content and putting information in. Also, still be very, very cautious about the information that you do put in. Even though we do have this extra layer of protection, I feel a little bit more secure, but I'm still very aware and conscious about the information that I put in. So because we're going to be using these two websites, I thought that I would show you how to get to these websites because we're learning that a lot of faculty don't know that UNT has a license with Copilot, Microsoft, and Adobe Firefly. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. And I first want to show you how to get to Microsoft Copilot. And if you want to open up a tab and follow along with me, or if you have multiple displays, you can follow along with me. You can just type in whatever browser you like using, Microsoft Copilot. And make sure mine's the very first, you can tell I go here a lot, mine's the very first hit here in my Google search. And this is Microsoft Copilot. Now, I want to point out that you might have to go ahead and log in with your UNT credentials. I use Copilot daily, so it stays open pretty much a lot of the time. But you'll see here that I've got my profile picture as well as my UNT email address. So I can make sure that I'm logged in, not with a personal account, but under that UNT umbrella. So that's something that you might want to make sure. I would leave this tab open if I were you because we have a couple of activities and one of them we are recommending that you use Copilot. So if you want to leave that tab open, I would like to show you also, and I think Allison dropped the link in the chat, how to get to Adobe Firefly. So you can actually just type in, let's see, open up a new tab here. You can type in Adobe Firefly. And again, it's right at the top for me. I wanted to show you that it takes you into the dashboard. Up at the top, go to Firefly. And this is what the opening screen looks like. I'm going to point out again the top right, just to make sure that I am in with my UNT credentials. I've got my name and then my information there. So I'm going to give you just a couple of seconds if you're following along with me, because we love workshops where you can get hands-on and walk away and these tabs are open and you're ready to hopefully use them with some of the ideas that you take away today. And I did forget to point out, if you have a question during the workshop, if you will put it in the chat, Allison and I are going to tag team and we'll stop at certain times during the presentation to make sure that we are answering those questions. Let's see, are there any questions right now? Oh, perfect. Thank you, Allison, for putting that. You should not have to buy anything. Great question, Elizabeth. I also sometimes will access these through the Microsoft Office, 360 Office, if that helps.
That's how I usually get to it too, because then it ensures that I am logging in with my UNT credentials for that added level of security.
Perfect, perfect.
And yeah, we do want you to sign in now because then you're going to practice in just a minute.
Yes, UNT email, yes. Great questions. Probably the unt.edu. Or actually, would it matter? It may not matter if you use your student account or. Samantha, maybe open up a tab with Microsoft Office where you see all of the apps that we have access to, and go to Copilot that way. Great question. Okay, so if you haven't been on Adobe Firefly, we like to use Adobe Firefly for creating images. I personally jump over to Firefly for any type of visual content. If it's text type content, I will use Microsoft Copilot, and that's including helping me with presentation slides or rubrics. I'll use Microsoft Copilot. But our first activity is to have fun with creating an image. So if you want to stay on your Adobe Firefly tab, at the very top is where you type in, describe the image that you want to generate. And of course down here you've got different options of things to generate. I'm just going to choose image. Now for this workshop, we wanted you to have some fun and practice your prompting. Prompting is what you're going to type in, and you wouldn't think it would make that big of a difference, and so we wanted to show you how it is so incredibly important to get as many details as you possibly can into your prompt, because you'll be much happier with your results. So if you will take a look, Allison is going to, I guess I jumped out of the slides. She's going to put a picture of an image of a cat in our chat. Cute cat, not as cute as Allison's or Aubrey's. They both have beautiful black cats, but this is the one we're going to use today. Okay, and you're going to type in, or actually I'll show you an example of this one and I'll give you a minute to practice. I have Adobe Firefly open because I typed in earlier this morning, just because it takes a little bit of time to generate and I didn't want you to have any downtime waiting for my picture to generate. So I started this morning and I said, create an image of a gray and white cat with green eyes. I'm trying to duplicate that picture that Allison dropped in the chat. Well, this first line are the images that Adobe Firefly created. Not bad. It doesn't look like the image that Allison put in the chat, so I got a little bit more specific. Okay, well maybe I need to create a caricature type image of a gray and white cat, and I also included a dark green background. So it's a little better. Still wasn't happy, so I thought, okay, and this is interesting. I typed in accidentally the exact same prompt in my second line here and my third, and look, it gave me different images even though I typed in the exact same prompt. So there we go. The third line, I said, well, maybe I need a cartoon type image of a gray and white, and then I added fluffy cat with green eyes and a dark green background. So I have some great images. I have some really cute images. Some of them are pretty close, but you can see when you compare the one in the chat, it wasn't quite, I didn't do as well as I should have. So I need to get a lot more specific. So that's just an example of how important the prompt is. So we want you to try. So jump over to your Adobe Firefly, and Allison's going to drop in another image. And I can't wait to see some of the outcomes on this one. But this one, it's really cute. In fact, did you use Adobe Firefly with this one, Allison?
I did, yeah.
Okay. But we want to see if you're able to get an image that's close to the one that Allison created. And so we're going to let you have just a couple of minutes to type in and try different prompts. Especially you can see after you do your first prompt, you can see maybe with what route you need to get more specific with. We definitely have our eagle, Scrappy. And he's really good friends with maybe our AI generative robot. So But as soon as you get one, if you want to share it with us in the chat, we would love to see what you come up with.
You'll also
Like that.
notice there are some weird things about this robot. That's part of the AI generation process. So be on the lookout for weird things like extra hands or multiple heads or a wing on a robot for some reason. So
You definitely get some interesting things sometimes.
Tama, would you show them also what the Copilot little symbol looks like?
Sure.
Because when they go to Office 365, they have to access the Copilot app there. And so knowing what the little symbol looks like is helpful.
That is a great idea. Okay, so I'm on Microsoft Copilot right now, and it's a little almost like an open circle with a rainbow. And this is my 365. I usually get in this way as well. And when you see the apps, it's usually this very first one here. So,
Thanks, Tama.
yes, wonderful. Does anyone want to share any images with us?
Oh, Kathleen, you even got the extra wing on the robot. That's pretty good. Let's see some more.
Ooh, okay, that is good. Great job, Kathleen. That's much better than what I have come up with. Mine hasn't been close.
Oh, that's a good one
Oh,
too. Thanks,
that is a
Michael.
good one.
Though I noticed the robot is also part eagle. Oh, Daniel, this is a very dramatic one.
Oh, it just came up with that,
Nice.
Kathleen. That's interesting.
This is kind of a robot chicken,
That is
which
good.
I like.
I do too.
A tip that I'll that's exactly right, Michael. You're gonna get unscripted things. So you kind of have to be prepared for it, and that's where the iterative prompting process comes from. And a tip that I'll give you all is including, especially when you're trying to generate an image, is including in details about things like style. So when I generated the original image, I think I told it to use a comic book illustration style to get that specific look. And when I generated the cat image that Tama was trying to replicate earlier, I used information or details like oil painting style with visible brushstrokes. So that kind of context and details and constraints are what are going to help you really refine your prompts and your ultimate results.
Okay, well, these are wonderful. I mean, you guys did a great job. You had wonderful prompts.
I'm going to go back to sharing the PowerPoint slides. Is that good?
That would be wonderful, yes. John, we have, as far as credits, and I think make sure you're logged in, because we did realize that you have access to use platforms even when you're not logged into UNT, but your credits quickly run out, like maybe 2 or 3 images and you're done. So with UNT, and it starts over ever so often, so I think it would be very difficult to use up all your credits if you're under the UNT license.
Especially with Firefly, with Copilot, you get much more limitations around image generation. You can generate images with Copilot, and I frequently do, but you can't do as many iterations in one day as you can with Firefly. So that's a caveat for you all as well. Yeah, so John, that tells you that you used 1 credit and you still have 1,249 left to get you through the rest of October. So I think you'll be okay. That is very never-ending story. Shout out to
Good
one of my
point.
favorite movies. Okay, are we good to kind of keep moving forward at this point? Or do y'all have any
Are
other
there
questions?
any questions as far as Adobe Firefly? And you can have tons of fun with that. You probably saw all the different options of ways that you can edit over there on the left. Oh, in a Denton
Nice.
desert.
Ooh, thank you for sharing your prompt, Rose.
Yes, that's great.
So you got a more kind of photorealistic style for that one. And you'll also notice when you go to Firefly, it also provides you with a gallery of reference
Mhm.
images that you can use. Like if you like, I like the style of this one. I want to try and create an image that kind of looks like that. There's also a gallery of like styles, media techniques, kind of art movements, things like that. You can ask for an illustration or a photo. So there are all different kinds of ways that you can play around with it when you're creating images. So I encourage you all to have fun with that.
And also
Okay.
in the gallery, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't it share the prompt? And that was really helpful to me when I was first
Mm-hmm.
starting, is to look at a picture and see what prompt was used. It helped me to kind of cater my prompt to get what I want. So
So before we dive more deeply into this, and we're going to focus more intensely on how we can use these tools to help us specifically with our teaching, I want to offer a caveat here. Um, so generative AI, LLMs, basically operate by learning from vast amounts of text data. They use deep learning techniques to recognize patterns and relationships in language. This is what they use to help them generate um, relevant responses, or what it thinks is a relevant response. So that means they're using this information to kind of predict text um, based on our user input, so our prompting, right? So that's an overly simplified explanation of it. I am not a computer scientist. I don't know how to create an LLM, but that's generally how they work. So what this means is that there may be, i.e., there probably are copyrighted texts and materials, images, music, etc., that have been used to train LLMs like ChatGPT. And in fact, Meta was sued for doing exactly this, or is currently being sued about this. So my caveat for you here is this: when we talk about using generative AI to help us ideate or create teaching materials or images like this, it is with the understanding that we are not advocating that AI be used to create materials that will be sold or copyrighted. Okay, we're talking about treating AI kind of as a collaborator, a teaching partner, for sharing ideas or brainstorming with, just the way you might have a conversation with another teaching colleague, right? So having a conversation about how to solve a teaching problem. So we're not telling you to rip off copyrighted materials, and we don't want you to do that. Okay, so it's more about sharing ideas with a partner. So keep that in the back of your mind as we keep moving through this information. So now we want to focus on, since Tama kind of gave us a great look at how to get to Copilot, how to do a little bit of prompting, now we want to focus in on the learning piece here. We've talked a little bit about how generative AI can help us streamline, energize, refresh some of our work as instructors. So we want to take it one step further and consider how generative AI can help us personalize and differentiate our students' learning experiences. So how can we use it not only to help us make our teaching more efficient, but better for our students? So I want to start with a brief overview of the Universal Design for Learning framework, which is essentially a pedagogical approach that works to accommodate the needs and abilities of all learners and tries to eliminate unnecessary hurdles in that learning process. Okay, so the general goal of Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, you might hear me say that, is learner agency that is purposeful and reflective, resourceful and authentic, strategic and action oriented. So UDL offers a series of concrete suggestions that can be applied to any discipline or domain to help us make sure that all of our learners can access and participate in the learning process and the activities that we're giving them, the materials that we're sharing with them, the methods that we're using, etc. So here again, this is kind of a very quick look at the overarching ideas around the guidelines and principles of UDL. So this table is just a snapshot of some principles that are much more detailed, but as you can see, it communicates here the core principles are multiple means of engagement, multiple means of representation, and multiple means of action and expression for students. And the general guidelines behind all of these are providing access, providing support, and supporting executive function for our students. If you would like to take a deeper dive into UDL, and I really encourage that, it's a really incredible and useful framework. We have this QR code for you here that will take you to the CAST website. CAST is the organization that kind of created this framework, or you can follow the URL here, udlguidelines.cast.org. And again, this will take you to the CAST website, and they have much more detailed information and all kinds of other resources specifically about UDL. So thank you, Tama. She put the link in the chat. So the question then is, how exactly what does UDL have to do with generative AI and vice versa, right? How do these partner together? So generative AI can actually make it easier for us as instructors to observe those UDL guidelines, particularly multiple means of representation, action, and expression. So AI can help us create content in various modalities. So maybe we offer resources or learning materials that are in a text version, but also an audio version or a video version to help different accessibility, and learning preference needs. It can give students a choice in how they engage with content. If they prefer video over text or text over video, again, just one simple example. It can also help us when we're designing assignments, give students a choice in how they demonstrate their knowledge about the material. So, some students might do a great job expressing themselves in writing. Others might prefer a more visual strategy. So these are kind of the main things that UDL and AI can help us with here. So now let's talk about how we can use generative AI specifically as a teaching assistant or partner to help us offer multiple means of representation, multiple means of action and expression, and create more personalized learning experiences for our students. So effectively using generative AI, again, always begins with good prompt engineering, like Tama was telling us at the beginning of this session, because in a nutshell, AI can only work with what you provide for it and what it's trained on. That's it, right? It's a machine, it's not a person. And despite what it might feel like sometimes, AI cannot read our minds. Even though I know that when I look for something on Amazon, all of a sudden I'm getting ads for that very thing when I go to Facebook. So this means that we need to provide detailed prompts that do the following. Okay, so it is about detail, but it's also about the right details. So you want to provide detailed prompts that, first of all, align with your learning outcomes. So if you are asking for help designing an assignment, you obviously want to make sure that that assignment or that assessment tool and process aligns well with what you want students to actually be learning and demonstrating. So include those learning outcomes and objectives in your prompting process. You also want to make sure that the assignment, the activity, the materials, whatever it is that you're seeking help generating is tailored for an appropriate complexity or skill level for your particular students or your particular audience. So again, you might want to include information about your course discipline, the level of the course. It is a freshman course, it is a senior capstone course, is it a graduate level course? Provide information about the type of assignment or activity or the goals of it. If it's an assignment, is it a formative low stakes assignment, or is it a higher stakes assignment, etc. There might be other relevant student and course information that you want to include. So is it like a large lecture class? Is it a small intimate seminar class? Is it first year undergraduates? Are they majors? Are they non-majors? Any of those details that you would typically think of when you're designing something for your students, you need to provide the AI with that information as well. Okay. I also encourage you to consider incorporating specific principles of Bloom's taxonomy, and I'll show you a diagram with this in a minute. But if you're not familiar with it, many of you probably already are, but if you're not, it's basically a classification system used to define and distinguish different levels of cognition, right? It helps us frame desired outcomes for a learning experience. So the lowest level of Bloom's taxonomy are things like remember, understand. And then the highest level are things like evaluate and create. So again, depending on what level your students are or what you're hoping to get from this material, think about what level of Bloom's taxonomy you want it to meet, okay? So again, as Tama demonstrated for us earlier, a really, really important piece of working with generative AI is that you really need to engage in an iterative prompting process. So it's not just a one and done thing, right? You kind of have to have a back and forth conversation with the AI to really tailor it and get it to where you want it to be. So you may start with one prompt, and honestly, it is rare that the first output that is generated from AI will be exactly what you want it to be. And maybe you saw that with your practice with the robot eagle image, right? So you want to keep fine tuning that prompt so that you're also fine tuning the output. Again, kind of teaching the AI what you're looking for. So you're training it in that process. And last but not least, you absolutely have to review and refine all the output that you're going to get from the AI. So you want to make sure that it meets your needs, your instructional needs, your assessment needs, but you also want to be mindful of some of the major concerns around generative AI, which some of you may already be familiar with, but it bears repeating. So accuracy is a really important issue, and it is well known that generative AI can produce incorrect or misleading information due to its limitations in training data and the algorithms that it might be using. It can often produce something that we call hallucinations, which could be, for instance, information that is flat out wrong. It could be references that do not exist. And some people in very very public status in law and government have done this before. And I know there's one example of a lawyer who used it for a case and generated case studies that did not exist. And they took it to court and they used that. And guess what? Didn't go well. Didn't go well for them. So you have to review for accuracy, especially as an instructor, right? Bias is another thing you want to keep in mind. Generative AI may reflect and amplify existing biases that are present in its training data, which can lead to unfair or discriminating outputs. So for instance, some AI systems have been found to reproduce biased results that disproportionately affect people of color. Facial recognition technologies famously often misidentify individuals who have darker skin tones at higher rates. We've seen that it can reproduce cultural stereotypes, so you have to review it and refine it, looking for not only accuracy, but also bias. And then, of course, you want to make sure that whatever the AI generates is appropriate for sharing with your students, that it's something that you're comfortable with, that it's content that feels relevant to you and meaningful. So the bottom line here is never take AI output at face value. You always have to approach it with a critical eye and your own expertise in the discipline as an academic and as an educator, okay? So with all of that in mind, we're gonna do some more practicing. So we're gonna play a quick round of what we're calling prompt Mad Libs. I'm hoping there are some people in here who remember the game Mad Libs. I think it's still around. But if you haven't ever played Mad Libs before, it's basically a word game that asks players to provide certain categories of words that get filled into blanks for a story. But the person who's providing those words doesn't know what the story is. So then hilarity ensues when the story is read aloud because you have all of these kind of nonsensical words and things. So y'all are going to be the players in this round of prompting Mad Libs. And we will then provide you with the prompt after you have identified your words. So what we want you to do now, we're just going to take a few minutes to do this. Take out a sheet of paper or open another, like a Word document or another window on your computer where you can jot down your answers or words for these following blanks. And in case you need it, here is a diagram of the Bloom's taxonomy. So you can see that it starts with remembering, moves to understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So creating would be the highest level of cognition. So we want you to come up with a number between 2 and 5, the level of pick a level of Bloom's taxonomy, something to learn that ends in ing, some school level or classification, so that could be freshman, sophomore, could be something else, a discipline, and then an adjective. So you can decide whether you want the words to be serious or if you want them to be silly. It's totally up to you. I'm also going to play along and provide my own words for the blanks. So I'm just FYI, I'm going to lean towards silly because, you know, I like to entertain myself. So take a moment, give me a thumbs up or something in the chat when you're ready for the prompt and you have all your words ready to go. And when you're ready, thanks, Samantha, I will also copy and paste the prompt into the chat for you. But not until everybody's ready because, you know, we got to keep the surprise or it's not going to be funny. Thanks, Michael. How are we doing? Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Kathleen. Great. Thanks, Cornelius. Okay. I feel like enough of us are ready to go. Here's your prompt. I'm putting it in the chat for you. So if you want to copy and paste it, you can, and then just fill in the blanks. So please generate a number, whatever that is, different versions of an assignment and different modalities for different learning preferences. Each version should incorporate the whatever level of Bloom's taxonomy, and you can also pick multiple levels, and meet the learning objective of something to learn. The course is a classification college course in this discipline, and the students are adjective. So go to Copilot, which Tama had you open up earlier, or you can pick another AI if you want. Tama has put the links to ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude, and Gemini, which are four of they're like the big four of generative AI. There's also, there's some others, but we're going to work with these. So go to Copilot if you want, or go to one of the others and put your prompt in, and we want to hear, hopefully some of you will be willing to share what it generates. So we'll take a couple of minutes for that and see what happens. And I'll also share with you what I generated. Title, The Ugly Practice Session. It was an ugly afternoon when I sat down to begin practicing my latest piece for my doctorate in music. Nice. Thank you. Is that supposed to be a music or a cat fight? I love that. Thank you. So while you're working on this, I'm going to share with you what it generated for me. So I asked for the objective. So the thing I wanted it to learn was fire eating, because I don't know about fire eating. My level, where did I write this down? So I had Bloom's taxonomy level of application. And so it gave me two different versions. I asked for two different versions. So it gave me one version, kinesthetic learning, hands-on practice and demonstration for an assignment called Fire Eating Fundamentals, a step-by-step performance. The objective was to apply fire eating techniques to safely execute a controlled performance. Kind of like that. Gave me some instructions, gave me some assessment criteria like safe and controlled execution, proper body posture, breathing control, flame management. So that was the hands-on assignment version it gave me. Then it also gave me a visual learning example where I might ask students to create a fire eating safety guide with an infographic and demonstration. I kind of like that. So again, applying fire eating safety principles, but through creating a visual learning tool. So it also has assessment criteria like accuracy and clarity of safety principles, effectiveness of visual communication, depth of analysis, quality of applied revisions based on feedback. So it gave me, I only asked for two different versions. You can ask for more. My tip here is usually ask for more than you think you need, because then you have some choice and you can refine the ones you like. So let's see what we have in the chat. Let's see. Samantha generated verbal linguistic modality, ethnographic narrative, or podcast. Voices of the water, fishing as lived experience. Nice. That's a good one. Let's see, Michael shared, edit this scene, the mood swap challenge. Students receive raw footage from a short pre-shot scene. They must edit two distinct versions of the same sequence. Nice, that. Right, Samantha, who knew fishing could be so fun? I had no idea what it was going to come up with for fire eating, but that's kind of fun. Let's see, Stella has creating a colorful labeled poster or digital collage that represents the 7 days of the week in Spanish. Nice, that's fun. So as you all are doing this, here are some questions that we want to hear from you on. So what do you think about the AI output that you got? Is it something that you feel like you could work with in your own classes? What did it get right? What did it get wrong? What changes did it make? We want to analyze it a little bit. So what are some of your reflections as we go through this process? Because remember, we want to approach this through review and refinement. So what did you like? What did you not like? What did it do? What did it get wrong
I,
for
I,
you?
I can add,
Yeah.
well, I just paused my first version because it didn't allow me to do the second one. But the second one, it was like made like a a song in Spanish with it the other week, and I put for college level, and I don't think that's gonna be for college student. Like try to think about a Spanish song and create it and then record it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something I won't do.
But think about how might you then refine your prompt to make it reach the level that you want it to reach? Or would you do or maybe you want to do something completely different and you toss that one out?
Yes, I just put two. The first one was
Mm-hmm.
the one I like,
Mm-hmm.
and then I will probably add more to see which one I will use.
Great.
I guess
Yeah, that's exactly.
we just throw out whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yep.
know. Um, but
Yeah,
it's
not everything's going to be great, and you kind of have to be ready for that. And you know what? I'm kind of glad for that, right? We don't want it to be perfect because that's where we come in, right? We're the experts, we're the educators, we have the expertise, and that's when we start to apply what we know to refine the output if we want to use it. So Samantha says, I picked something within anthropology and what it got right was the methodology, but maybe needs to adjust the tasks. Nice, thank you, Samantha. So yeah, it looks like we're getting some interesting output, but I want you to kind of keep thinking about what it's getting right, what it's getting wrong. Don't be mad when it gets something wrong because that gives you the opportunity to make it what you want it to be. And that's really what we need to do. And remember that it's conversation. So kind of our final reflection piece is, so how do you think AI used in this way might help improve teaching and learning beyond just that efficiency piece? What thoughts do you guys have on that? And feel free to share in the chat or if you want to unmute. Yeah, Samantha.
So I think that it could make things fresh. Things can be redundant if you're doing the same thing every single week, or even semester by semester if it's a course that you teach all the time. For your own self, it can get boring. So I think that it would be really fun for both the students and yourself to keep things new and exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely vouch for that too. Because that's how I have used it to help me brainstorm ways to make my teaching, especially when it's something like a topic that's super boring, like teaching MLA citation style. It's definitely helped me make that a little bit more engaging. Let's see, in the chat we have, your expertise matters. Yes, always remember that. It'll increase my creativity, enable me to make more exciting materials. That's great. Yeah, student engagement should increase. Yeah, we can absolutely use it to help us figure out new and creative ways to get our students more engaged. And that's really, really important. Any other thoughts before we wrap up? So I will pose a question that is not on the slide. What are your main takeaways about AI and prompt engineering right now from this session? What are you taking away so that the next time when you try to use AI, what are you going to think about? You've got to know what you want. Yes. Embrace it to enhance teaching. Great. I know that we agreed to not use any AI for this course. We allowed you to use it to organize our lesson plan. Yes. You can. AI can be a great way to help you organize thoughts. I think you just don't want it to do all of your work for you. Question, if instructors are using AI in course development, should there be some type of acknowledgement? Yes, there absolutely should. And this is something that I talked about in an earlier webinar this semester is about this idea of being transparent around AI usage and providing open disclosure statements about when you have used it, so you can model that for your students and kind of stop having this kind of haze of stigma and taboo around it, because the fact of the matter is it's out there, students are using it, and they're probably going to need to know how to use it in the future. And it's helpful for us to use it too if we feel comfortable with that. So be transparent about it, model that for your students. Nice. You must be the executive editor. Yes, Tandra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't rely on it for everything, but again, think of it as a collaborator sometimes. Nice. No, there is not a standard disclaimer. UNT does not have a standard policy. That I think is in the works. Their committee's talking about it, but for now, it's up to the individual faculty member. But for what it's worth, I encourage you to have some sort of AI policy in your courses, and you can model your own open disclosure for them. It might be things like, I used this tool in this way to do this with this assignment. This is then what I did with the output and how I refined it. So those are some things that you might think about. And yeah, Fernando, you're right. Be careful. He's talking specifically about quizzes, but there might be errors and confusions. There's that accuracy piece that we talked about earlier. So you have to be thoughtful and critical of it all of the time. Never take it at face value. So here to wrap up in the last few minutes, here is our contact information for both me and Tama. We are going to have, there's going to be one more workshop in this AI series this semester. Here's a look at all of our learning workshops, but you'll see we're going to have one more session about fostering digital literacy and critical thinking around AI. So you might be interested in that. Tama has put a link to our upcoming events in the chat. You can also access them via this QR code. But I hope you took away something meaningful from this. Maybe you feel a little bit more comfortable about AI, you know, a little bit more about the tools that are available to you. And yeah, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. We'll stay on for another few minutes if you want to linger and ask some questions to us individually. But thanks everyone for being here. And thanks for sharing your output with us today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
We're a great group. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, everyone. I'm going to stop the recording.
Perfect.